Hey guys, welcome back to Cheat Day Sports. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Some great football games on this weekend. But yeah, let's get right into it and talk about some of the games, talk about some of the big news coming out of Southern Cal coming out this weekend. But let's just dive right into it. The first, huge news, Lincoln Riley, finally nutted up and got rid of Alex Grinch, which I think he should have done a lot earlier. I think USC's trajectory for the year could be a little different. Even last year, you get rid of him because, I don't know how the defense gets worse this year, but last year I think they still ranked they were 119th in scoring defense and way down in the hundreds for all their statistics on defense last year. So, if we just look, they were giving up, okay, you beat San Jose State, but you get up 28, you beat Nevada, you beat Stanford, and okay, you give up 28 to ASU, okay. We hadn't really known who ASU was yet, but you give up 28 and you give up 41 to Colorado. Okay, that's okay. Colorado has prime, they're ranked, they're supposed to be great. But that's okay. Then, okay, you give up 41 to Arizona, which, okay, Arizona is turning out to be a great team this year. But in I think was it triple overtime or just overtime? You end up coming out with a dub. And then you give up 48 to Notre Dame, which, Notre Dame just lost to Clemson this weekend, which is a terrible, terrible loss. But, Notre Dame, we still thought, oh, okay, Notre Dame has some playoff aspirations and everything. But I'm like, okay, chalk it up. And you give it up 34 points to Utah, which has no offense whatsoever. After that game, Lincoln Riley should have sat down and had a talk with Alex Grinch and listen, we're playing Cal. If you don't change it up, I'm canning your ass. Then you give up 49 points to Cal. I would have been done with them right after that game. I don't know what in Lincoln Riley, you have Washington, which is the 5th ranked team in the country, and coming to the Coliseum. And you have this D coordinator that's given up 49 points to a terrible Cal team, which Oregon dropped 63 on them and gave up 19 when they just played them this last weekend. So I would have just gotten rid of Alex Grinch right then and there. And then, they come out and take another L to Washington, which I feel bad, but also I don't, because I don't think Lincoln Riley's that great of a coach. I think of a head coach, put him as an offensive coordinator, and let him go be up in the NFL, an OC in the NFL. I think he'd do great. I just don't think, unless he's just has blinders on or Alex Grinch had something on him, but I just don't think he's that great of a coach and with his decisions. But there is one head coach right now of a Power 5 team that I think would be a great defensive coordinator, because I don't think he has what it takes to be a head coach at the Power 5 level. And that's Kalani Sitake, the coach for BYU. I love Kalani Sitake. Kane used the DC for Utah. But I just don't know if he has what it takes to be a head coach at a Power 5 level. I think you take him down, toss some money at him. You guys are going into the Big Ten. Toss some money his way, because if you guys are giving up 34 points to Utah, who's just big, physical, runs the ball, I feel bad for USC next year playing Ohio State, Michigan. It's going to be a rough year next year, especially if Lincoln Riley stays. It's going to be really rough. But enough with that. Let's talk about Colorado this weekend too, which I think is a big story. You lose 26-19 to an Oregon State team, which I thought, honestly, Oregon State would have been 43-21, kind of a little bit more. But, the defense for Colorado stepped up. which is surprising. But then you only score 19 points. Like I said, I don't think having Sean Lewis step down was the best thing as I had like for Deion to do. Deion's another one. I like Deion Sanders a lot. I like Coach Prime. He brings in the recruits. He's great at doing that. He can probably get whoever he wants this year and in the transfer portal for next year. It's just, I think he has to have some great coordinators behind him to have Colorado be successful. I think we're kind of seeing, jumping up from Jacksonville State to coming up to a Power 5 level in the Pac-12, where the Pac-12's insane this year, is really rough. I think next year will be more telling of what Coach Prime and what kind of team he can get around him. I think next year will be good, especially in his second year. I just think they made the wrong decision, and I mean, they still have to play Arizona, which good luck with that, with how Arizona's looking. Washington State's looking pretty beatable. I mean, Stanford just beat them 10-7. So Washington State's falling on some hard times, and then they play at Utah. So in these next 3 games, they could go 1-2. I can see them going, but it's going to be a rough stretch, especially with everything. I don't know what's going through the minds, what players are thinking, but it's going to be a rough next 3 games for Colorado. But it was a great slate of college football this past weekend, and I have some games up here to talk about. So let's just start going through those. The first one I have is Ohio State Rutgers, and this was a pretty good game for about 3.5 quarters. And then Ohio State just started putting a toll. Rutgers couldn't really get anything going. They were running the ball all over the field. But other than that, they couldn't really get anything going. And Ohio State's defense is the real deal. They have a great defense, but their offense is rough. And they don't really, I think do they play Michigan State next weekend? And then they play Minnesota, and then they play Michigan, which Ohio State's not going to get tested for another 2 weeks until they play Michigan. But I think Ohio State's really going to get exposed when they play Michigan, just because even with I don't care. Ohio State could be stealing Michigan signs for all I care. And Michigan's going to do terrible things to this Ohio State team, because Michigan has a great defense too when you're looking at it. And I just think Ohio State's, what they've shown on offense, especially against Penn State, and like even Rutgers, I don't think Ohio State, they're a really good football team. And they've had some great wins. Yeah, they beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame just lost to Clemson, which they're 5-4. So congrats, Ohio State. I think you guys are going to get really exposed, but not for another 2 weeks. So have fun with that. And then the next game I want to talk about is the Florida State Pitt game. This one for about 3.5 quarters again. This was my upset. I picked Pitt to upset Florida State. Didn't happen. I thought it was going to, for 3.5 quarters. I was like, man, Pitt can really do this. But Florida State just had too many athletes. Their depth and everything. Jordan Travis just came out and played, but I mean, there for a second, I was like, man, especially like good job, Florida State. You covered the spread. They're 21-point favorites and they covered, but I mean, 24-7 to a bad Pitt team. That's another thing. Florida State should not be top 4. I just think that's another team they're going to get exposed. Like, you had trouble moving the ball against Pitt. Try doing that against Oregon, or I mean, even Michigan or Georgia. Good luck with that. They're going to be coming in some tough times, but I mean, we'll talk more about their schedule later in the week. But yeah, this was another surprising game. Pitt didn't quite get it done, but congrats Florida State for covering the spread. Uh, in this game, I talked a bit about it earlier with the whole Alex Grinch situation, but man, I mean, if you love offense, this was an insane game to watch. Um, Washington, Michael Penix Jr. looked great. They actually ran the ball really well this game, which I was surprised, but I mean, Utah ran the ball all over USC too. So, I think I mean, if you have a balanced running game, I think you can go in and beat USC 9 times out of 10. But it was a shootout, Um, it's just, I don't know how good Washington is, because I think if you play that Oregon game, run it back, or have it at a neutral site, with how Oregon's playing right now, I don't see them losing to Washington again. But this game this week's going to say a lot for both the teams they're playing, because Utah goes to Washington. Utah, I mean, dropped 55 points on Arizona State and gave up 3. And it does sucks. It does suck. I mean, Arizona State has a lot of injuries, but I mean, man, Utah, the first 2 touchdown drives were effortless. But this upcoming game versus Washington and Utah, I think is gonna surprise a lot of people. And we'll pick a lot of these games later in the week. But yeah, this was a shootout. Shout out Washington for humbling Lincoln Riley even more. But I don't like how people are like talking crap and everything on Caleb Williams for like crying and all that. I understand crying after a loss. I have no problem with that, going up the stands with his mom and all that. I have no problem with it. I guess it's just how he acts. I mean, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You're pretty much getting paid like you're in the NFL already. But when they lost to Utah, I mean, at least he got up and shook Michael Penix Jr.'s hand and everything this week after the loss. But when they lost to Utah, he didn't get up and shake Bryson Barnes' hand, a third string walk-on quarterback for the University of Utah. So that's where I was just kind of like, okay, come on. But people are giving him flack for crying and all that. They must have never played football, I like how he shows emotion. I guess I don't think he handles the best, he's still a young kid. He's 21. So I just think owning up to those losses, if a team beats you, be like, hey, congrats, you guys had a good game plan. But I don't care if a guy cries. It just shows he has passion. But yeah, shout out to Washington for getting the dub. And then this game, the Bedlam game, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Man, this was a great football game. I see people complaining, there was a holding call. A pass interference call where Oklahoma would have scored that touchdown and everything. But should you have even been in the spot in the first place? Because Washington had a call just like that, where the Washington DB was actually pulling. In the replay, you could see him pulling the jersey. It was coming away like 2 feet. And the ref threw the flag, and then they huddled up and discussed it, and then they picked the flag up after. And that was the worst PI. It was kind of like this, but Washington came out of that game with a dub, which they shouldn't have. But should you have even been in this situation in the first place, Oklahoma? Like, maybe you guys were a little fake. You lose to Kansas, now Oklahoma State. I just think Texas had a bad game when they played against them. I think Texas wins that game 8 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10. I just think Oklahoma that day played better. I don't think they're the better football team. But yeah, shout out Oklahoma State. Now you guys are in the front seat, the driver's seat, pretty much. If you guys win out, and then you're going to play Texas in the Big 12 title game, and that's a scary game, because Mike Gundy has this team at like playing at an insane level right now. At the start of the season, you guys lose to South Alabama, and man, you look at this team and you think the worst. They're the bottom of the Big 12. They're trash, and now they're sitting at 5-1 in conference play, looking to pretty much play Texas in the Big 12 title game. So shout out Oklahoma State. Keep going. Next game we have LSU and Alabama. Again, a shootout. Jaden Milrose is insane. That kid looks like he runs a legit 4.3 and can still throw the ball. Like, he is a running back, receiver, whatever you want, and can throw the ball. I'm not going to say, because I hated when people were saying, Lamar Jackson's just a wide receiver playing quarterback. No, Lamar can actually throw the ball. Jaden Milrose, I think, has some mechanics he could work on better as a straight up quarterback, but man, the kid's insane. He's a baller. He is an athlete, and since he's come back from getting benched, he's played totally different. I think this Alabama team is good enough to beat Georgia. If they make it to the SEC championship game, I'll take Bama over Georgia the way they're playing right now, especially with Brock Bowers going down for Georgia. I know they just beat Missouri, but this Bama team is playing, and they beat a really good LSU team where Jaden Daniels has been balling out. He's still in the Heisman talks, which I think he could. This LSU team could be 3-6 without him instead of 6-3, or even worse. I think Jaden Daniels is that whole team with what he's done. But shout out Bama for getting the dub. If you guys win out, you'll make it to the SEC championship game and could make it to the playoffs, which who would have thought when you guys were losing to USF? I would have never thought Bama would have been here, but congrats to them. And then, since I'm a Utah fan, let's talk about this. This is not how I saw this game going. But man, Utah's defense has been playing really good. I think after getting demolished by Oregon last week, I think Kyle Whittingham just had this team ready. That would be a scary team, especially for Kenny Dillingham. I really liked it, Kenny Dillingham. I think he's going to do great things at ASU, especially when he gets a couple years, get some recruits coming in and playing for him. I think he is a really good coach. I like his passion. He just loves football. So I think ASU is in a pretty good spot with their coaching right now. Just they don't have the depth. That Bourrier, their quarterback, their third string quarterback, got hurt that game, and they're having Scadaboo, their running back, throw the ball. They're just a scrappy team. I just think Utah has a lot more depth, and they're just a good football team this year. If you have some injuries not happen and you have some guys come back, Utah is in that playoff talk too. But shout out to Utah for getting the dub, and you guys have a big game this upcoming weekend. And then we have this Kansas State Texas game, and man, this was a heartbreaker. You have Chris Kleiman looking to go for it on fourth down, which I don't disagree with the call. There's a lot of people like, man, why did you let this go? But either way, you're playing to win the game. It's like it's just like being after the second OT where everybody has to go for the 2-point conversions instead of getting 4 downs. I just think I like the call. I don't know if it was the right play call. You don't really, in Will Howard, you don't really have a super mobile quarterback, which the pressure just got through, and Will Howard couldn't do anything. But I like the call a lot. You saw Utah do it last year when they played USC. They went for 2 to get up by 1 point. Either you look like a hero, you look like a god as a head coach if it works. If it doesn't, people are like, well, why are you doing that? That was the worst decision ever. Which is not. I like it. Your kids probably want to play for the win too. Everyone had his back in that decision, but it just didn't go your way, but Kansas State, it's a really good football team in Texas. I mean, Malik Murphy, shout out. He struggled a little bit, had 2 interceptions, but I mean, this Texas team is looking pretty good, especially you have 2 teams going in opposite trajectories, with Oklahoma losing twice and then Texas, scrapping out these wins. But I like how it's going. But that's all I have. Later in the week, we'll be talking about some of the conferences again, picking some games. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a great day, have a great cheat day. I'm sure you can find a basketball game. Oh, Pac-12 basketball starts tonight. Sure you can find a game. Go grab a slice of pizza. Go grab a burger. But I hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll catch you later. Peace.